Hi class. So, as some of you know, I am pregnant. I am actually due this week, so hopefully my baby will come soon. But as I've been getting closer and closer to my due date, I've been thinking a lot about what kind of stroller should I get, and what kind of diaper bag should I get, and what about breastfeeding? Is breastfeeding necessary, or should I bottle feed? And I'm sure all of you new mothers out there, or anyone who has had kids, has had similar thoughts like this. And that last question, the breastfeeding one, has been something that's been on my mind a lot lately. And I've really wondered about that, because my mom, she didn't breastfeed me, but she breastfed all my other siblings, and all my older sisters who are moms have breastfed. And they just tell me that it's an amazing experience. So I just wanted to learn for myself and do some research on it. And I found that breastfeeding, through my research, really is the best for the baby, the best for the mom, and most importantly, it is the cheapest. So first of all, it's best for the baby. There was a lot of research that I read about the benefits of breastfeeding, and in one of the journals that I read, it said, it was from the National Women's Health Information Center, and they said, mother's milk has just the right amount of fat, sugar, water, and protein that is needed for the baby's growth and development. And they also talked about how the mother's milk is sterile, and so it's always good and always ready to go for the baby. And then they also talk about like the antibodies that are in the mom's breast milk, and they find that that's what helps babies not to get sick as often, because these antibodies are in the milk and they drink that. The second thing that I found that it was good for the babies was in this study from the Maternal and Child Health Journal. It states that in a systematic review of 28 studies, consistent evidence emerged that when compared to formula feeding, breastfeeding reduced the likelihood of later obesity. And I thought that was really interesting. That was something that I had never thought of before. And it's something that I guess you don't necessarily have to worry about, or you should be worrying about with a little baby, that they're gonna grow to be obese. But in the article they talk about how formula, the baby's bodies aren't able to digest it as well, and breast milk is just so much easier for their body to digest, and so that's why they have found that it leads to kids not having obesity. So I thought that was really interesting. Second, it's good for the mom. My mom was telling me, as now that I'm getting ready to have my baby and breastfeed, she was telling me all the horror stories of breastfeeding, the sore nipples and just the complications, and the baby doesn't want to eat, or your milk doesn't come in. And so I was wondering, well, like, is there anything good that comes for the mom from breastfeeding? And in these studies that I read, there was one that was really interesting to me, and they talked about oxytocin, and it was from the International Journal of Childbirth Education. And this is what they said about it. Oxytocin in the mother and infant creates feelings of love, drowsiness, euphoria, and pain relief. Now the drowsiness part is mainly for the baby, which is good, because you want your baby to sleep a lot when they're newborn. But all those other things, decreases stress, helps you with your bonding of your baby. I thought those were just really interesting, because you don't think about like the hormonal effects and changes that occur because of breastfeeding. And then the second reason why it's good for the mom is just like it mentioned previously, bonding. Not only does oxytocin help with the bonding, but just having your baby so close to you, and being able to in one of the journals it says, it's the Infant Mental Health Journal, breastfeeding is a maternal experience that undoubtedly affects mothers' future emotional attitude towards their breastfed children. And then they go on to say, mothers, when breastfeeding, dedicate more time and attention to their children than when they feed artificially. So this is really interesting to me, and I've noticed this with my sisters as they have breastfed and have given me advice about it. The third one is breastfeeding is inexpensive. So I'm starting to realize that being a new mom means that you are going to spend a ton of money on this little child. Diapers and wipes, those alone are going to be tons of money every month. And baby clothes, and we have the blankets, and you have to buy their shampoo and the swing and the crib, and there's just all these things that you have to buy. And so I was really curious about formula, how expensive formula is. And there's this calculator online for new moms to determine how much formula you're going to need. And how you do it is you put in the amount of feeds. So I looked up online, how often does a newborn feed or eat every day? And then how many ounces. So it's normally 8 times a day, about 2 ounces of milk. And then you put in there, you choose like a brand. So I just chose the cheapest one, the generic one, which is about $25. And then it tells you how many containers of formula you'll need. And it was 4 containers of formula for just a month of feeding your newborn. And newborns don't drink, they drink frequently, but they don't drink as much as, a kid that's like 3 months old. And so I was just like, I can't even imagine having a baby that's older. And luckily, as they grow older, you start introducing solids and those kind of things. But it was just crazy to me. So as I did the math, and I realized that would be close to $100 a month just on formula. And wow, that's crazy. So I feel like throughout my study and throughout just the journals that I've read, that breastfeeding really is the best. I know that there's some, and this has been another thing that's been on my mind, who haven't been able to breastfeed. Like my sister-in-law, she was never able to breastfeed. But that doesn't mean that formula is gonna hurt the baby or that's bad for the baby. But I did find that there are all these other benefits and all these other great things that come from breastfeeding. And so if you can do it, you should, because it's not only gonna bless you and help you bond with your baby, but it's also gonna be good for the baby. And most importantly, it's cheap. So that was my research. Thank you.